Hello, everyone.
Oh,
Woohoo. It's nice to be back.
We're
the two of us together. I know. I know. We certainly hope that you have enjoyed our students, our student practitioners. I'm not
Yes.
sure how to say that.
Yes.
They are professionals, but they're also students. So I think they'll always be students.
Right. Well, you don't stop calling your children.
That's true.
Right. So
True. Okay. So we hope you have enjoyed them. They'll certainly be here still a lot more. Everyone joining in and
the different pairings.
Yes.
I think it's wonderful that
we're having such a great time
collaborating. We are collaborating with them. I think it's great.
Yes.
Yeah.
So as you know, we sort of took June off. We needed that time. And now we're like, I think halfway into July and we're just finally coming back. We needed the time. We needed it. So, and then we're actually able to get together today.
Yes.
Yes.
And that doesn't happen.
No.
Not like it used to.
No.
Not at all.
We talk every day.
Yeah.
We do. And we only live, 2 miles from each other?
Probably.
Yeah. But we've just been so busy and, life happens.
Life does.
But here we are.
Yeah.
So it was recommended to us to do Weird World, right?
Weird World?
Yes.
It's got some weird things.
They got some weird things.
And they've got a lot of videos.
Yes.
Like they've got over 1,000 videos.
Mari-Lyn actually went in and took some tried not to watch too much. We have someone who typically helps us with that, but he's unavailable. So did the beautiful thing.
I sat down and I did not lean into anything. I just went, okay. Topics, love the topics. I hope the videos are going to be, interesting.
I can't wait. I have not seen any
provoking.
Yes.
We will put the names of the videos in the the description. Hopefully they'll be in the same order.
Yes.
Hopefully I can give them to Pam in the same order and we watch them.
One thing I would like to say is I understand when someone they liked Weird World. They probably like every video. If you could help us out a bit and maybe say, oh, I like this video, give us some names.
Specifics.
Yeah. That would be really nice.
Be careful though, if you're putting them in the comments, don't put the link.
No, YouTube deletes that.
They delete the links.
Yeah.
So
we have to be really careful with that.
Give us the title.
Yep.
And we'll find it.
Yes. But anyway, we're here. This has been, we've had a rough, 6 weeks. I think it's been since we've
probably, which would explain why I'm a little nervous.
Oh, okay. Yeah. We've done things separately, like with our students. Everything's Zoom though. Everything, because we're together here. All of our students are all over the place.
All over the world.
So which is
weird. Right?
Weird and fabulous. Yes. So anyway, subscribe, before you don't even, but you're going to like it.
Just like it.
Just go ahead.
Just right now.
Yeah.
Just like it.
And subscribe.
Yes.
Hit that little notification bell so you know when we put new things out. Although we all know that we try to get something out every Friday night. We do a pretty good job of that.
We do a pretty darn good job.
Yes. Plus, we have a podcast that we do every Tuesday.
Took the words right out of my mouth.
Now that we've been together for not physically together always though.
No, we
still don't.
We don't get together for the podcast. Nope, we do those.
Physically.
We do those over Zoom, and it's not even always us anymore.
That's true. We have people doing that too. Yes,
yeah.
We have Trevor does readings on, and this is our podcast, the Conscious Spirit Podcast.
Yes. And so go to the Conscious Spirit Podcast YouTube channel and subscribe and like and hit the notification bell.
Yes.
Because there's all different days.
Yes.
Like Trevor, as you were going to say.
Yes,
I interrupted.
Trevor, that's all right. And Nan does some readings.
Yeah.
Sometimes you and I do. We've thrown in a couple here and there. Yep.
Yeah.
The meditations are still there every Sunday.
Yep.
You have a Saturday.
I have a Saturday wake up with intentions, stretching.
Yes. It's more spiritual over there. A little metaphysical, but spiritual. And this is more spiritual paranormal.
Right.
on this channel. So anyway, we'll stop yammering. And
right after we tell you to visit the website after you've watched the video.
Yes.
tcseverydaypsychics.com to find out what all we do offer and all of the wonderful services that all of the
practitioners.
Thank you.
Yes.
What everybody offers.
Yes. And please leave your comments. We love hearing from all of you.
We do.
Unless you want to be nasty.
Oh, then
just
don't bother.
That's not our community. Our community is so fabulous. You all are so respectful and so kind. Mm-hmm. We just really appreciate and love you all.
We do. So much gratitude.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay.
All right.
Here we go.
Paranormal researchers have unearthed hundreds of accounts of often very unwell people being cured by extraterrestrial intervention. A Weird World viewer has written sharing her experience, which reflects many aspects of this mysterious phenomenon. Kat Williams has written to us from the US with her story, which she says has only been told to a handful of people because of its strangeness. Kat states that she was about 8 or 9 years old when she had her extraterrestrial or ET encounter. So these events took place in 1984 or 1985. She lived with her mother, father, younger brother and older sister in the South Lake, Texas area, where she grew up in what she describes as a middle-class neighbourhood. Kat remembers lying on the family's couch in the living room and her mother coming up to her and asking if she needed to be taken to the emergency room. At the time, she says, she couldn't breathe and could not even answer her, as she felt as if her lungs were not functioning. Her mother just knew that there was something wrong with Kat and took her to the hospital. Kat remembers the bright white lights, a doctor in a white coat, and most importantly, an oxygen mask which was placed on her face. She also remembers the doctor saying that she wouldn't have made it much longer. She was diagnosed with pneumonia and stayed in the hospital for about 2 weeks. Kat remembers small details of her hospital stay, such as when her classmates sent her homemade cards that said "Get well" and reading Snoopy books from the hospital library. Mm-hmm. Finally, her family came to visit her and took her back home, so that she assumed that she was healed. But this is where the strange aspect comes into her experience. She remembers that a few days later, she was sleeping on her bed, on her back, with many pillows stacked up, so that she could breathe better. In fact, she still sleeps this way today. The next thing she knew was waking up in the middle of the night to total darkness. But the odd thing now was that she was sleeping on her stomach with her neck and head turned to the left. She opened her eyes and saw one dark figure and, she believes, another dark figure who was behind the first. The figures were about normal size, 5 feet tall and no taller than the window. Kat instantly became scared, thinking that there were 2 disguised men in her room who were possible thieves.
How scary would that be?
She could not move and is not sure whether this was because she was so scared or if something was happening to her. She was also sweating a little and decided to shut her eyes and pretend she was sleeping. She was hoping that the burglars would take what they wanted, ignore her and move on. With her eyes closed, she felt the bottom edge of her bed go down, as if someone had sat down there. She was, by this time, terrified. Then she felt what seemed like a ballpoint pen go down the left side of her back. She could feel the pressure of it digging down into her back and says that it was a whisper away from hurting. The next thing Kat knew, it was morning. She woke up to the sun shining through her bedroom window. She jolted up and ran to her mother, who was in the living room. Kat screamed and told her to help look for footprints in the carpet because there were people in the house last night, burglars. Her mother held her to calm her down and said that nobody was in the house last night. The doors and windows were all locked.
Imagine your
her
child
mother explained that Kat was on
coming
medication
to you like that
could make her see things.
No.
But she knew what she saw and what she had felt. It was not a dream. Even as a child, she knew that something real had happened. Her mother said that if it happened again, to just look straight at the being and say, "Go away." The next night, Kat did see a small green being looking at her to the left of her bed. Having no idea what it was, she did what her mother had said and yelled, "Go away." The scary entity disappeared right in front of her eyes. She had never seen a picture of anything like the green being that she saw until she was about 40 years old and watching a historical television show on demons. There it was again, the tiny green being right there on her TV screen. It scared her somewhat and brought back the memories of her childhood in Texas. Around this time, she was walking through the library and noticed a book on alien encounters. As she flipped through the pages, she read a story about a man who was visited by dark beings in his bedroom, possibly greys. When she read this story, it opened the floodgates of her memories of the visitors she encountered as a child. At this time, her mother was coming into town for a visit, so she decided to bring this all up to see if she remembered anything. She said she didn't remember Kat's story, but she did say that the doctor who diagnosed her with pneumonia as a child in Texas said that she wasn't healing and that there was nothing else they could do for her. Basically, her mother had taken Kat home to die. Of course, she hadn't known this at the time. Kat believes these visitors in her room healed her with some kind of pen device. Kat remembers that after this ET encounter, when she was still young, her personality changed. Everything suddenly needed to be neat and orderly. Her bed needed to be made perfectly, and her closet needed to be organised. If she made a mistake, she would become angry with herself, even self-inflicting pain on herself, which she now finds bizarre. Her mother started taking her to church, and in Bible study, she remembers reading how our body is a temple and that we are to take care of our bodies. Still to this day, she doesn't drink, smoke, or do drugs, and tries to keep a clean body. A few years after the ET incident, she finally relaxed and somewhat became herself again. Things didn't need to be so organised and perfect. As an adult in her 40s, she has had X-rays done on her back, and there is nothing there, no chip or alien device to be seen. She checked records on the Mutual UFO Network website and saw that back in the 1984-5 time period, there were some UFO sightings. She still wonders if extraterrestrials visited her as a child and healed her, and if so, she's thankful for their visit. Researcher and author Preston Dennett has...
There's a lot to unpack here. And there's a little bit more. It looks like just like another minute or something, but there was so much, I can't take any more. I have so much to say. So we'll definitely watch that.
I'm gonna say,
wow.
Yeah, she got healed.
Yeah, absolutely. And yes, it was an alien, not a demon.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember thinking she was in the hospital for 2 weeks with pneumonia. But even back at that time, that would
In
be
the
a
80s.
long time for
Yeah.
a kid to be in the hospital because of pneumonia.
Yeah. I'm wondering if mom did. Well, mom didn't tell her something.
Mom didn't tell her
That she went home, like she was dying.
She went home to die.
Yes.
Yeah.
You would think though, by the time she was 40 telling the story, that mom would have, well, I guess she did because she knew to say it. Anyway, I don't know.
Yeah.
So definitely the way she said her personality changed, that was definitely from trauma. So
I would think a trauma response. Absolutely.
Because when you go through something where you have so little control, she had no control. None whatsoever.
None.
You want to control as much as you can. So you try to control your outside world. That's a trauma response. Right there. Absolutely.
And that trauma of lack of control started, before even the alien visit.
Very possible.
Yeah. With that illness and
and
being so constrained. And then you add the huge trauma.
Oh man.
Huge trauma.
What a thing to go through. That's scary.
Laying there, and I can't even imagine.
Also the mom told her, which I think is a good thing to say, tell it to go away.
Sure.
She said go away. And it disappeared, but it didn't necessarily go away, or it went away from sort of her looking at it
from her vision.
Sure.
Yes.
But it certainly wouldn't go away. We hear that all the time, and I don't have issue with it. Parents tell their children to say that, and I totally get that, but it didn't go away. So one thing is for sure, one thing that I certainly believe, and you all may believe it or not believe it, but I believe Earth is an experimental planet on many levels. We're an experimental planet. We have we come back life after life after life to experiment, to learn, to evolve and grow as a people and personally. And everything that happens, everything's sort of, people will often say one of the reasons they don't like a religion is because, well, if God were real, God wouldn't have children suffering, dying,
the horrific things that happen in human existence.
Right. They're all experiments. We are eternal. So we leave this body and, we are eternal. So that's a whole nother subject. I get that. And what's coming now, I want you to tell me what you think, Mari-Lyn. So could it be, so yes, I actually believe in alien life, and I know you do as well.
I do as well.
And we have not begun to see everything that's out there. I think our government certainly knows a lot more than they're telling us because they think we're stupid and we can't handle it.
Well, I don't talk government things.
No, you don't, but I do.
However, there's a lot more to it than they think we're stupid.
Oh, yeah.
That gives them that element of control.
Yes, that's true.
Knowledge equals power in some cases.
Amen.
And the more knowledge they can keep from the general public, the more power they believe they have.
Yes, true. Okay, that's true.
So there, I said it.
I'm so proud of you.
The world.
So tell me how this lands.
Okay.
I don't think they said it in this video. It could have just been me remembering people saying, why did they choose her, not someone else? Why did they choose you? Not, when people come out with their stories, that's something that they hear is like, well, why were you chosen? It's almost they say it derogatory, but
okay.
So what if the reason she was chosen is because that's where she's from? They are.
Okay, can you see my goosebumps?
They are experimenting on their own.
Their own kind,
their own people, their own whatever, their own family, if you say it that way.
So it was a spiritual contract.
Yes.
That they would come in.
Yes. Yes, and work on these people.
And work on her.
Yeah, and work on her. They didn't touch her siblings. They didn't touch anyone else. There was a disease. She very likely, before coming in, just like we all do, we choose our family, our siblings, our jobs, our lives, our friends, the situations we're going to get into. We choose it all. There's still a lot of free will, of course, but there are main events that we choose for ourselves. She chose to get sick so they could come in and see and work on their healing.
Yeah.
And work on it.
Yeah, that absolutely lands.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I've never thought that before until just now. So that's exciting. So let us know what you think. Leave your comments.
So if that's the case, which, I think so. It's not random.
It's not random. No, it's not random at all. No. No. And then they said something about there's some things they can't heal because it's karmic or whatever. That's absolutely, I'm not sure if I would put it in those terms, but there is, karma is between people. There's contracts you have with people. Also, I guess it's not always people. There's situations you have karma with. So that actually lands for me. Because we don't have our free will stepped over by spirit, by God, by aliens. I think we're all connected. So,
right.
Yeah.
So from a spiritual aspect, they would not cross those karmic lines.
Correct. But she agreed to it. That was her contract to come in and get this. I don't know if it was pneumonia or not. That's what she's saying. And it could have been, maybe that was a byproduct of something else she had. I don't know. But that's what happened to her, her deva, her physical body. It was so they could come in and do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. And other people get those, and that's how they've chosen to die in this life. And then that gets sticky because it's about the people around you and everything. There's a lot to it. Yeah. So we talked about a lot of that stuff on our podcast.
Yes, we do.
So we don't need to talk about it here. But okay, so should we just finish the rest of, there's just a little bit left of this. It was just so much. I had to stop it. I don't know what she's going to say, but.
Sure.
Okay. And then we'll just let it, unless we have something to say, we'll just let it go into the next one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sounds
All right.
good.
I'm excited. I really like this. You did good, sis.
Oh,
Yes.
thank you.
Documented over 300 accounts of the healing of humans by extraterrestrials in his book, The Healing Power of UFOs. He quotes research indicating that at least 50% of alien encounters involve healing. The pen-like instrument that Kat remembers seems to often be used, which he suggests may be some kind of electromagnetic device utilising light therapy. Her experience also represents a typical scenario, as many healing subjects wake up at night to then witness their alien visitors trying to assist. Other accounts involve a person driving or walking when a UFO will hover and send down a healing beam of light, while others with more serious illnesses, like cancer, will be taken on board the craft for treatment. Astonishingly, 10% of cases reported occur inside a hospital, when a mostly human-looking doctor will enter a patient's room and administer
Mostly
life-saving treatment
human-looking?
for a condition such as heart disease. The examples found by Dennett even include rectification of a heart abnormality. On their return, the real doctors will be amazed at what appears to be a miraculous recovery or spontaneous remission. Dennett found in his research that many of these human subjects are, like Kat, terrified and feel violated, but in the long term most, 80 to 90%, are grateful for the intervention. Dennett believes that, despite often negative reporting, a main goal of UFOs is healing. He has uncovered many accounts of intentional healing in mysterious circumstances.
That was funny.
With the first investigated ET healing episode dating back to 1914. Like Kat's experience, this was also on a child, a boy in Inverary, Scotland, whose broken arm was healed by a small being. This leads to the question, why are certain individuals chosen for healing by extraterrestrials and not others?
We answered that.
Yeah.
There seem to be no discriminatory criteria in that people of all blood types, ancestry, age groups, religious or political affiliation, both male and female, anywhere in the world, can be selected. Dennett has gleaned that in some cases the treatment is like a health upgrade, which has to do with the ET's interest in human
I think you were
lifespan
spot on.
and genetics
I do too,
influencing
yeah.
longevity. He says that about 50% of the subjects are people with a history of contact by aliens, with one subject told, "This is not the life we had planned for you." Dennett is also aware
This is
that
not the life we
ETs
had
have
planned
refused
for
to heal
you.
certain injuries that they describe as karmic. Essentially, they cannot heal everyone and want us humans to learn how to help ourselves.
All right. So I do want to mention or
Sure.
talk about this little clip.
Because you were like so spot on.
Yay me. So, yes, they just like the rest of us do. We come back into life, different parts of the world, different cultures. We come back as different people every time that are so different from this life. So it makes sense that they're going to work with people all over. Does that make
Yes.
sense? Like,
Yeah.
because we incarnate in different.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So that makes perfect sense.
Yep.
And yes, there some things they're not going to bother with or whatever because of the karma. We do create karma with other people, with situations. We also have come to learn that when we come in to master something, you have to see all sides of the situation, right?
Right.
So it could be maybe you come in once as an oncologist, but before you come in as that oncologist, you've had lifetimes where you've had cancer.
Sure.
You know, I mean, they're not going to come in and heal you
because you have to learn it.
Because you have to learn.
Right. You have to go through the experience.
Yes.
Of having it, surviving it, dying from it, every aspect.
You come in being the parent of a child who has cancer.
Sure.
Or the sibling or the friend you come in all sides of the issue to learn that.
Right.
So to me, that just solidifies more that we're right about why,
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Perfect.
Yep.
Love it. Love it. You did good. You did good. Yes. Okay. We still have more. All right.
Yes, we do. We do.
All right.
It was a chilly November evening in 2018 at Tiger Stadium in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. The hometown LSU Tigers were facing off against their rivals, the Alabama Crimson Tide.
Ooh, Roll Tide.
Anticipated games of the college football season. Fans were rowdy and rambunctious as always, fueled by cheap beer and Southern pride.
Cheap
Among
beer
them
and
were two
Southern
young
pride.
men, Brad Freeman and Jack Turner. Neither were LSU students, just two local guys in their mid-30s looking to enjoy the game. But the night would end in an altercation that would forever change the course of Brad's life. As the game neared a disappointing half-time, Brad headed to the restroom while Jack went to grab more drinks. On his way back to his seat, Brad accidentally bumped into a group of drunken Alabama fans.
Oof.
Harsh words were exchanged,
bummer.
and rivalries run deep in SEC football. One hot-headed Bama fan, with a heavy plaster cast on his right arm, threw a wild punch at Brad. It connected hard with Brad's temple, and he immediately crumpled to the ground. Chaos briefly erupted as Brad lay motionless on the concrete, while stadium security swarmed in to apprehend the man. Paramedics arrived within minutes and checked Brad's vital signs. He was alive but unconscious. They carefully loaded him onto a stretcher and into the ambulance bound for Our Lady of the Lake Regional Medical Centre. Brad's friend Jack rode with him, deeply concerned for his injured friend. At the hospital, doctors determined that Brad had suffered a severe concussion. He remained unconscious for nearly 3 hours upon arriving at the emergency room. But when Brad awoke, something was clearly wrong. He was disoriented and began asking the nurses and his friend Jack about his wife and children. Jack was stunned and explained that Brad wasn't married and didn't have kids. But Brad insisted he had a wife named Sophie, a 5-year-old son named Ryan, and a 3-year-old daughter named Emma. Doctors chalked up Brad's confusion to his head injury and concussion, which was classed as a moderate traumatic brain injury. But over the next few days, as Brad remained hospitalised, he refused to let go of his vivid memories of a family and a life that none of his friends or family knew anything about. Brad's parents grew increasingly concerned about his mental state. He remained adamant that he was a married father of 2, living a completely different life than the one he knew in Baton Rouge. At their wits' end, Brad's parents requested a psychiatric evaluation. A neuropsychiatrist assessed Brad and determined he was not psychotic or delusional. She concluded that Brad's unwavering belief in this alternate life was a neurological response to his traumatic brain injury, that it was a confabulation of false memories emerging as a result of his brain's attempt to reorganize and rewire itself to preserve its function. Confabulation is not itself classified as a distinct syndrome, but rather a symptom or feature of various neurological conditions, such as certain neurodegenerative diseases, and in Brad's case, a traumatic brain injury. People who confabulate genuinely believe their invented memories are true. However, Brad's case was unique in that his memories of events, places and people that had apparently never existed or taken place were uncharacteristically detailed, elaborate, and seemingly internally consistent. He described meeting, dating and eventually marrying a woman by the name of Sophie Jones between the years 2008 and 2009. She had dark brown hair and worked as an elementary school teacher. He gushed about the day their son Ryan was born in 2013 and how his heart melted when baby Emma arrived 2 years later in 2015. He talked about how they had considered moving to Austin, Texas in 2016 after he got an offer to be store manager at a Best Buy outlet, but that he had declined. Interestingly, in his actual life, Brad had in fact worked at Best Buy until 2012, when he was let go due to layoffs. The last thing Brad remembered was driving home from work when he felt a headache coming on. He went straight to the medicine cabinet to get an aspirin when he fell to the floor. When he came to, he was at the hospital. Strangely, Brad still seemed to possess memories of both his original and alternate life, the memories of his life since 2008, an apparent amalgam of 2 different life paths. Brad did extensive research online for a Sophie Jones. However, he was unable to find anyone matching his recalled physical description of her, although this wasn't too surprising given how common her name was. He even called the school he remembered her working at, but they were unable to provide any details about any staff working there, citing employee confidentiality. He failed to find any staff directory published by the school either. He also visited the property he and his wife had been renting, which seemed to perfectly match up with his recollections, although there is a possibility that this was simply confirmation bias. Brad's traumatic brain injury has long since healed physically, but the psychological wounds have persisted. The life he lived so vividly in his mind during those not-so-unconscious hours continues to haunt him. Sophie and the kids felt so vividly real, so cruelly ripped away. Had Brad accessed a splintered version of his own memories from an alternative life? Brad remembered his final moments in his other life collapsing to the floor in the bathroom. Could a similar head trauma occurring in close proximity across time in both his alternative life and that of his own somehow cause these parallel lives to mentally converge? Or are his elaborate and vivid recollections of another life post-2008 simply a testament to human imagination and the plasticity of the human brain to adapt to traumatic injury?
I want to say I'm really proud of myself for doing this video, because this is the type of thing that freaks me
No, it
out.
doesn't freak me out at all. No.
Yeah. As a probably teenager, it's just starting to hear talk about the possibility of time and space and parallel existence. It just freaked me out. And to this day, I don't even want to think about it.
Oh.
And yet,
you're fascinated.
Here we are.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I have a lot to say on this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Freak me out some more.
So, first of all, roll tide. Just saying. But drunks in football, scary.
Oh
just
boy.
Saying. Just saying.
Oh yeah.
That poor guy. I mean, that's just woof. We hear all kinds of, and I know everyone has the horrible stories you hear about. So we're from Oregon. My family, we're ducks. And people who are like a husky at one point, I mean, it can get really ugly. It's really sad, and especially put some beer in them.
Oh yeah.
Oof. All right.
Yeah.
Anyway, so to me, this is the term soulmate has come up to mean, this is my soulmate, we're in love, and this is my soul. You hear that all the time. That's not it. You have soulmates. Any friend, Mari-Lyn is a soul. Mari-Lyn and I are soulmates. Our husbands that we're soulmates. You have soulmates. That means that they come from the same spiritual family, right? So that's a soulmate. That and then there are things like twin flames. So one of the things that and different people have different verbiage for different things. I think that's why I'm kind of going down this, right? But a twin flame is, in the way I see things, and you all can think differently and let me know, but our soul can, so when we decide to have a life, our soul can actually split, and we can actually come in two lives at the same time. We can we can do it in the same lifetime, but he couldn't find her. He couldn't find that twin flame. So I absolutely think that he recalls that. He tapped it because it's his soul split in two. She's just living in a different dimension. Yeah. So he has two, and whether he is her or not. I don't know. Because we come in, sometimes we're men, sometimes we're women, we're in different cultures, different religions, different places in the world. So it could be they're very similar people, female, and he's male. That could be the way that happens. But I absolutely believe it's not, what they keep calling it, confirmation bias, which I don't really get but it wasn't just some brain injury or anything.
I don't believe that it was a brain injury.
No, not at all.
I
No.
don't.
Nope.
I completely believe his memories were actual.
Yes, it was the other piece of his soul in another life that he was remembering. And again, it could be that he's married to that person in another life, but more than likely she is him. It's two pieces of one soul. And because he wanted to get a lot done, and he's like, I'm not coming back twice. I want to go at the same time. I want to get this shit taken care of. Yeah. So that's what I think. Interesting. I think that was awesome.
Very interesting. Very interesting.
So, all right, we'll just move on so she doesn't have to, yeah. All right.
I don't have to sit here and stew about it.
Yes.
A Childhood Reconfigured. For most people, memories of the past provide a sense of nostalgia, identity, and personal history. But for 23-year-old Amy Carson of Manchester, England, her memories have become a source of confusion and self-doubt, leading her to question her very sense of reality. Amy first began noticing discrepancies between her childhood memories and the recollections of her family and friends when she was 19. During a casual conversation with her parents about growing up, Amy brought up a distinct memory of staying overnight at her father's flat after he had separated from her mother. She recalled specific details, the layout of the flat, the fold-out sofa bed she and her sister slept on, even watching the Star Wars film Attack of the Clones for the first time there. But both her mother and father adamantly denied that Amy and her sister had ever spent a night at their dad's place post-divorce. A further follow-up with her sister also seemed to confirm this. Perplexed but shrugging it off, Amy figured her memory must be false. But over the next few years, more inconsistencies surfaced that she could not explain. Talking with relatives, Amy referenced having severe eczema as a child, with distinct memories of recurring flare-ups and treatments. However, her family denied she ever had eczema prior to it reappearing recently after pregnancy. A friend also mentioned how odd it was that she now wanted kids, when just a few years earlier she had insisted she never would. And yet Amy denies ever having said this. Smaller discrepancies accumulated too: the location of a childhood pet's grave, the decor of her local shopping centre, the colour of walls in her childhood home. None matched Amy's memories. She scoured old photos but found no evidence to back up her recollections. Feelings of self-doubt and disassociation from reality began to take a toll on Amy's mental health. She started questioning the reliability of her own memory and the nature of her identity. Desperate for answers, she researched conditions such as dissociative identity disorder, but found no definitive explanations. Late one night, one search led her to a forum about parallel universes and interdimensional shifting. Could she possibly be remembering events from another parallel life, or had she herself entered into one? As bizarre as it seemed, reading the accounts of others who experienced similar memory conflicts provided Amy some comfort. Maybe she wasn't simply imagining things or going insane.
All right, that's awesome. That is so awesome. And we do cross dimensions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We do.
We absolutely do. So how do you put it? Life is not linear. That's how our brains can handle it. It's, like the past and the present, or present and future. It's all nice and linear, but it really isn't. When you leave this lifetime, if you want to go back to, 100 BC, because there's something you need to learn in that time, you can go back to 100 BC when you come back in again. They're all stacked. We're all stacked up. There are some people that believe we have a life in each of those times all at the same time. I don't believe that. I believe we have one soul. And like I said, we can split and have two lives, but not like 100 all at once or something.
I'm with you on that one.
Yeah, that one doesn't land for me at all. This brought up so much.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's where the saying being spread too thin comes from.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Having your soul separated too many times to experience too many things.
I'll take that. I mean, I could see where that would come from that. Sure.
Okay.
It's all right. It brought up so many fabulous memories. Our youngest son did this all the time growing up.
Oh.
All the time. And we would just listen to him and just like he was also the one that it would see, because he saw between the dimensions all the time. And I know I've told this story before, but he would say, who's that couple and that kid standing over there? Or, who is that man that just what, and it never scared, and we didn't make it scary. We would just listen to him and say, I'm not sure. What do you think? And sometimes he'd answer, sometimes he'd just run off and go, whatever. And he'd just run out. But he did that kind of stuff all the time. Until I think even when he was I think it stopped somewhere early 20s, maybe.
Okay.
But a lot more when he was real young, which, when you're a child, you just came from the other side.
Right.
You can tap into those memories a lot easier. So hell yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and yes.
So how much mental illness is diagnosed?
Oh, I think too much.
When it's really spiritual experiences?
Yeah.
Is that how you would describe that?
I think so. Because we are more spiritual than human.
Right.
Way more. Yeah.
Way more.
And it's sad because I think that happens a lot. Like, and I think, gosh, my son, had we made fun of him or told him he was just crazy, whatever, because people
shamed him,
that would have just been
taken him to the doctor.
Yes. Yeah. No. And I knew this is not just imagination. He does have a fabulous imagination as well, but yeah, that one was good. I like that.
Yeah.
So
it's crazy.
Yes. And if you all have some questions about this that I'm just like, yep. There's really not much to say about that.
Yeah. So ask your questions.
Yeah.
Share your experiences.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
On to the next.
The Midwestern Tropics. It was an ordinary Saturday afternoon in October 2014 when 20-year-old college student Abby Miller and her father David embarked on a drive that would forever alter their understanding of reality. The father-daughter duo were headed to the next town over, belting out 80s hits as they cruised down Interstate 35 through the rural Midwest farmlands. As they approached their exit, Abby and David were surprised to see it was closed for construction and a detour was in place. Up for an adventure, they decided to explore the alternate route rather than get right back onto the highway. The detour led them down County Road 61, a remote two-lane road that twisted through cornfields. After several miles with no other cars in sight, David and Abby were astonished when the road suddenly opened up into a lush, dense jungle landscape. Towering tropical trees, unlike anything found in the Midwest, flanked the road, which narrowed into a single lane. The air grew hot and humid, and exotic animal calls echoed from the forest. It was like they had been transported to the jungles of Costa Rica. They were both stunned, carefully manoeuvring the pickup down the uneven jungle road. Abby rubbed her eyes in disbelief. They drove slowly for a mile or two until the bizarre jungle gave way abruptly to farmland. Stunned, they turned around to check if it was real or some kind of mirage, but the jungle remained. Both utterly baffled, Abby insisted they return the next weekend with her uncle Tim, who was visiting from Texas. David agreed reluctantly, not sure if they would even find the surreal jungle road again. But the following Saturday, Abby, David and a skeptical Tim successfully located the mysterious County Road 61 detour. As they passed the familiar cornfields, Tim's jaw dropped when the jungle suddenly materialised around them, just as Abby and David had described. The trio explored the road for over an hour, completely awestruck, even hiking briefly into the thick vegetation before returning to the pickup truck. They all agreed that it was the strangest thing they had ever experienced. The following Monday, after her uncle had left, an eager Abby returned with her father to show some friends the unbelievable tropical jungle road. But no matter how many times they drove up and down County Road 61, there was no sign of the jungle detour, just miles of corn and farmland. Abby was distraught, thinking she had imagined the whole thing. But her father David stood by their experience. They made numerous attempts over the next year to relocate the mysterious jungle road to no avail. It had simply vanished. Google Earth yielded nothing. Even querying local farmers came up empty. It was as if it had never existed. Further research led Abby to discover an online community of others who had experienced similar parallel universe encounters. Had Abby and her father and uncle really crossed into an alternate version of Earth, one in which the Earth's tropical climate zone seemed to extend considerably farther north into the Midwest United States? Had they encountered some kind of temporary interdimensional vortex along County Road 61?
Do I believe that can happen? Sure. But for some reason, I don't believe this story.
I don't either.
Yeah. Like it's just not resonating with me at all. I'm not feeling yes, it's true.
I want to believe it.
I do too.
I really want to
do
believe
too.
it.
Do I think it can happen? Yes. I mean, we shouldn't say never. Well, we try to never say never, and we try to not.
Yeah, because we say never and then boom.
Yeah. So do I think it can happen? Yes. But I feel like this story is BS. Like somebody's making something up here. That's what I'd say to this one. You too?
I do.
Yeah.
I hate to say it.
It's not and it's so sad because I was so excited to keep moving along with these. But I'm not getting it on this one.
Well, let's keep going.
Okay.
Is there life after death? And does a human soul reincarnate on Earth or maybe elsewhere again and again? The following are 4 cases where the children claim to have lived a previous life, and in one of the cases has credible evidence. Luna Marconi. Luna was born in Copenhagen, Denmark, whose parents were both Italian. At the age of 3, she told her parents that her real name was Maria Espina, and she was from the Philippines, and asked to go home as she wanted to visit her father. She claimed her father owned a restaurant on Highway 54 close to the Church of Christ. Luna was fond of bocan, which her parents had never heard of. After doing some research, they found that bocan was actually buko pandan and was a Filipino dessert made with coconut. Luna also described the various festivals and ceremonies in great detail. On occasions, she would also dance and would hum a certain tune that her parents were totally unfamiliar with. Luna said that she'd met Filipino President Diosdado Macapagal, who she described as being tall, and had given him some red flowers, and she'd worn new shoes for this special occasion. On further research, they found that Diosdado Pangon Macapagal was a Filipino lawyer, poet, and politician who served as the 9th president of the Philippines from 1961 to 1965. How could a child of 3, born in Denmark to Italian parents, have known about bocan, Filipino culture, and a Filipino president from the early 1960s? Her story came to the attention of the media, and some reporters went to the Philippines to check on the young girl's story. The reporters were able to locate Highway 54 and also the Church of Christ that was close by. They also found that a restaurant had once stood in that location, and the owner was a man called Yves Espina, who worked there with his wife, and the couple did have a daughter called Maria, who had died of fever at the age of 12. With even more amazing proof, they found that a young girl by the name of Maria Espina had been chosen to present flowers to President Macapagal when he visited their town, and that President Macapagal had indeed been a tall man. With even further proof of what Luna had claimed, the parents of the young Filipino girl had purchased a pair of shoes for their daughter to wear to honour the special occasion. In 1974, a woman by the name of Sybil Leek wrote a book called Reincarnation, The Second Chance. The fact that the president ruled from 1961 to 1965 and the book was written in 1974 means that there were not many years between Maria Espina dying and a short time later being reborn as Luna Marconi.
Okay. I know it says that there's 4 of those stories and they're probably really interesting, but for the purpose of this video, I don't think
one was
yeah, absolutely.
fabulous.
Absolutely.
Absolutely fabulous.
Yes.
How
Yeah. How else do you describe it? How else do you
explain it?
explain it? That would be the
I mean, how can a 3-year-old? She's
Yeah.
certainly not going to go find a history book
right
and go, oh, I want to be this Maria girl, so
Yeah.
I'm just going to pretend to be her.
Yeah. Yes.
No,
Yes.
I think
And when you hear, like I told, like my son, this brings back so many great memories. It used to be, I don't know if this still happens, but when mediums were just sort of coming in, spiritual people and whatever coming in, they would talk about past lives. It's like every woman they came across, they told them she was Cleopatra in a past life.
Oh,
Do you remember that? Like that's what everyone was. Not true.
pretty sure I have not been Cleopatra.
I'm pretty sure as well.
Pretty sure
And
I have not.
very, like you honestly actually don't hear that someone was a famous person or someone who, made some big splash in the world. I don't know what just brought that up, but I had to say that because I guess this is the Cleopatra thing is so funny.
And it's hilarious.
That everyone, and so you can see why so many people think that we're just crazy and nutty. And yes, because we do have there's so many fraudulent people in our profession, which is very unfortunate.
So sad.
And I always say 85 to 90%. And I know that's a high number, but I believe it to be true.
Yeah.
And not all of them try to be fraudulent. They really believe the shit they're saying.
Right.
But they've had really bad teachers or have really bad information, whatever it is.
Or didn't have teachers, had no idea about grounding.
Right. Yes.
Because that simple task of being grounded and having all of your pieces and parts in order.
And not everyone understands grounding. People, this happens frequently. We'll get a new student and we'll talk about ground. They'll say, oh, I know how to ground. We'll say, okay, go ahead and ground yourself. And they think they're grounded, but they're not.
Right.
So there are people teaching false grounding, maybe, or because that's what they say. Well, they learned it from a YouTube video, which is why we don't do training videos, because you want to be one-on-one with the person to teach them how to do that.
So I know this isn't the time or the place, but I'm going to take a second. There are so many different levels of grounding.
Yes.
That very surface grounding that will get you through your grocery list at the store.
Yes.
Is not what we mean by being grounded when doing this kind of work.
Right.
Not very even close.
Very different. So, I guess we already kind of talked about that in a different video. We absolutely, yes, you're going to remember, and especially in being that young, you've just come from home. I mean, you're so close to just being on the other side before all the human things start coming in and bombarding you.
And in her case, that was a quick turnaround.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. That was a pretty quick turnaround. What I'm getting is that's partly because Maria died so young. She was only 12.
Sure. But she just wanted to come back. She wanted to come back quick.
And more.
And some take a long time to come back. Others come back quickly. Some decide not to come back, which is most come back. Anyway, that was a great video. Thank you, Mari-Lyn. And thank you for her suggested weird world. That first woman in the what I don't know how it was her accent.
Oh, her Australian accent.
Yeah.
I'm not even gonna try it.
So
not even gonna try it.
All right. Well, thank you for tuning in. If you have paranormal issues at home, at the office, on your land, wherever it is, reach out.
Please do.
Yes. TCS, everydaypsychics.com. We don't charge for clearings. We charge for other services, but not that particular one.
Yeah.
As Mari-Lyn always says, everyone deserves to feel safe in their own home.
Yeah,
So that's why we do it. We like to give back.
Absolutely.
So that's free.
absolutely.
All right.
All right. Hope you enjoyed it. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.